2014 has been a very challenging year for the country's economy. The Philippines hosting of the World Economic Forum showcased the performance of the Philippines as one of the best in Asia. Can it be sustained in 2015? Has the credit rating upgrades led to the entry of more foreign direct investments? Joining us tonight here on NewsLife via phone patch is Mr. John Forbes, Senior Advisor of the American Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, sir, and welcome to NewsLife.
Good evening, Kathy. It's pleasant to be back on the show again.
Sir, how would you sum up the performance of the Philippine economy for 2014, and what do you think are the prospects for 2015?
Well, I think the economy 2014 began to challenges. It was the growth was not as strong as last year, but it also began to produce some significant results, which I think come from several years of higher growth. First of all, I think you mentioned FDI in your introduction. There has been a 500% increase in FDI according to the central bank figures since 2010. Almost $5 billion, 4.9, almost $5 billion the first 9 months of the year. So that's quite significant, and if that can be sustained and even increased in 2015, I think that's going to add more jobs to the economy because it's been a catch-up game. The Philippines has lagged significantly in FDI and overall investment in the economy for quite a long time. So that's a good sign, and that creates more jobs. We saw the unemployment figures go down recently to the lowest level in almost a decade. And then there's somewhat less poverty according to NEDA statistics, quite probably because of the increases in the conditional cash transfer programs that put money into the poorest families to keep the children in school and get inoculations and some feeding. So all in all, if you're asking about prospects for next year, I think they look good. But one of the biggest challenges I'd like to note is that infrastructure is still quite low in terms of total spending and in total ratings of the World Economic Forum. And the government is, it has a very ambitious goal of 5% of GDP by 2016. It's being too conservative and too cautious in the spending, and we saw that in the last quarter. It was one of the main reasons why GDP growth slipped below 6%.
Sir, what sectors, in your opinion, contributed to the growth that we are attributing for 2014?
Well, I can more easily tell you the sectors that didn't, but the sectors that did, I think, is construction and manufacturing. I would cite those two, and private construction, not public sector construction. I mean, you see it, I think, all over the country in buildings, in the commercial and residential and office sectors. Manufacturing is almost 10%, and it's been growing as a sector quite strongly, and has, I think, a good potential to continue to do that. On the ones that are slipping, agriculture slipped, and I think there's still a lot of underinvestment in agriculture. It's a very significant sector because it's about 30% of the total population of the country are in that area. And then mining. Essentially, the government has stopped the growth of mining. That's its policy, and there are no large new mining investments going on. That's a pity because the country has some of the largest mining resources in the world. There's an exception in nickel because of a ban on export of ore in Indonesia has shifted demand from China over to the Philippines, and so there's quite a large increase in the export of nickel in existing mines. But I'm talking about a moratorium on granting new mines, and the largest investment in Philippine history down in Tampakan in southern Mindanao. $6 billion has been blocked for the last 4 or 5 years.
The Aquino administration is also pushing for the tourism industry to help boost our economy. How do you think the tourism industry will play this 2015?
Yeah, it's been increasing. There's a lot of construction and building new hotel rooms, and of course the government is spending on promotion internationally. Still, the Philippines is is lagging behind some of the other countries. It's behind Vietnam. It's behind Indonesia. The goal of 10 million was a good goal, but that's not going to be reached. It's going to be closer, I think, by the end of this administration to the original goal of 6 million. So an indicator of how far one has to go is the new president of Indonesia this week in Jakarta had a briefing in which he set a goal within his term of getting up to 20 million foreign tourists in Indonesia. So there's been a lot of progress in tourism, but the Philippines has a good product, but infrastructure is a problem. We have a congested airport here. There will be a new terminal down in Cebu and some other terminals, 6 other terminals that DOTC is trying to improve and then privatize the operations of. But it's been taking too long. I mean, these projects that are starting now have taken 4 years to get up to this point. So hopefully more can be done at a faster rate in the future, and then we can have more tourists, because nobody wants to really come through Naya in order to get to Puerto Princesa or Iloilo or Bacolod. They want to fly directly.
Sir, how important is it that the Congress approves the fair competition law?
Well, that's very important, Kathy. I'm glad you asked that question. It's been before the Congress for about 10 years. The Philippines is the only major economy in ASEAN that has not passed the fair competition law. And as the Philippines, well, it means it has an obligation within ASEAN to have one, but beyond that, these negotiations are going to start with EFTA, which is Switzerland and Norway, Iceland and Liechtenstein, and with the EU FTA and then the TPP if they apply for that. All of those treaties are beyond just a normal FTA in goods. They actually have things like competition policy being required. But the reason I'm optimistic is the Senate has passed it on third reading, and the committee report in the House is pretty well done. So the expectation when the Congress comes back that the House will begin taking it up on second reading in late January.
So the ASEAN integration is coming up next year. How do you think will this help boost the Philippine economy?
Well, I think any sort of integration of a region like ASEAN with 625 million people creates trade and investment and economy of scale efficiencies. If the Philippines is prepared to compete in terms of business costs, and it certainly has a large market for companies to come in here, and they're interested in being present in a growing Philippine economy of 100 million people. But there is a question of being prepared to compete. I think the banking law was a bold law passed this past year that will allow more foreign banks to come in. There are other areas where the Philippines, such as sugar, will be somewhat challenged, I think considerably challenged, because of the restrictions on large-scale production and agriculture. Small plots are generally inefficient, and you can't apply capital and efficiencies. And Thailand and other countries growing sugar support the industry much more than it is supported here by the government.
All right, sir, we look forward to a very positive economy for the Philippines next year, and we do hope that we are able to overcome the challenges that you just discussed earlier. Thank you very much and happy holidays.
You're very welcome and Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. That's Mr. John Forbes, Senior Advisor of the American Chamber of Commerce.